Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am back with another speed build, and we are building in the world of Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds. And this is going to be a Dutch Colonial inspired home, which is very common where I'm from. I'm from New England, which is like the upper eastern side of the US. And Dutch Colonials are absolutely everywhere. I was actually inspired to do this because I was driving around with my partner and we were looking at houses, and we both almost at the same time said, I really like Dutch Colonials. And so I decided that I wanted to build one in The Sims. So later that night when I went on stream, I do stream over on twitch.tv/Gryphi. I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to build a Dutch Colonial. And what I think would be fun is if it's only using the base game. So this is a base game home in that style, and I am so incredibly proud of how this one came out. I think this is one of my favorite builds I've done in a while. So I really hope you will enjoy it. If you do and you'd like to download it, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You can also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. And you don't need any packs to download this. I did leave some space for things that you could add if you did have other packs, but this is a fully functional, quite spacious, I think 4-bedroom house with plenty of space for it to be more, because in addition to 4 bedrooms, this house has an office, a garage, and a art studio. So those could all be turned into bedrooms if you would prefer. So you could have a lot of Sims in this household. And you can see I'm kind of trying to figure out the shape right now. I knew the sort of roof line I wanted, but I changed my mind about the overall shape a couple of different times. And this is where we are starting to get to what I actually ended up going with in the end, which is a little bit more of an L shape. And I'm glad that I changed it, because what I was going for in the beginning just wasn't working. For some reason, it just wasn't coming together, and so I needed to pivot, and I'm so glad that I did. So I ended up going with some dormers here over the entryway and just moving over some of those roof pieces. This was a really complicated roof, but I really love putting together roofs in the game. I think it is so fun. It's like a puzzle, kind of like how I feel about tiny homes, like trying to fit everything together. So I think these sort of roofs are really, really fun to create. And while I built this in the world of Willow Creek, only using base game, this house could probably fit in a few different areas, primarily Brindleton Bay. I feel like it would fit flawlessly there, since that is a New England inspired world and there are some of this style there. So that's an idea of another place you could go ahead and plop this down. But anyway, right now I am adding a chimney on the front of the house, which I feel like is such a statement piece and really helped to help this house come together. I think it looks so cute, and this is when I started really falling in love with the shape of the home. I'm adding lots of windows with shutters. It takes me a really long time, and I mean until I'm decorating the inside of the house, for me to realize that the windows on either side of the chimney are not evenly placed. One is like kind of closer to the wall than the other one, so I do fix that a little bit later, but if you do notice that, it will be fixed. It's definitely bothering me a little bit looking at it, but anyway, I am adding columns now to most of the corners of the house. We don't have those simple ones from base game, but I thought that these were perfect for this style, since this was a very common column used in this sort of house. And then I am painting the roof a really dark, like almost black color, and going in and figuring out what sort of siding and stuff I want for this home. I pretty quickly ended up going with the green siding from base game, which I should be grabbing here shortly after I figure out these steps. It's one of my favorite ones in the game. It is just so pretty, at least from base game. And we tried brick on the fireplace first. I tried a couple of different ones, but the green siding I'm going to grab is my favorite color. And I think it's partially because it's the color my house growing up was this like dark green, or like mid-tone green. The one thing that's frustrating about this green swatch in the game, though, is that it has the sort of like end pieces on it. So when it wraps around a corner, it'll put like a line there. But it doesn't exist in a version that doesn't have that. And I know the Sims team is aware of this, because I mentioned it and asked for them to fix it when I was working on high school years, because one of the houses I built for Copperdale that launched with the game, I used the siding on, and it was really bothering me. So I was like, hey, this is a problem. And it hasn't been fixed yet, which is really upsetting. I really hope they sometime, like, eventually fix it, but I still really love this color. I think it looks perfect here, and I was really happy with how this came out. So at this point, I decided I wanted to add a detached garage, and the idea behind this was not only can we decorate the bottom floor as a garage, but I thought it'd be really fun to have a teenager's room on the top floor. So like maybe they were like, I don't want to live in the house anymore. I want my own space. Or like I did kind of imagine that there were grandparents living here as well. Maybe when they moved in, the teenager was like, oh, I'd love to go have my separate space like away and have some freedom and feel like I have like my own spot away in the garage area. So that is what I ended up doing here. And I think it was kind of fun. I was really happy with that. I'm also going around the back and adding this porch space just so there is an area to exit into the backyard from. There's just a lot of exits in this house, to the side yard, to the backyard, to the front, to the balcony, lots of doors. Anyway, I'm extending these dormers on the top floor now to add some more shape to the back. It's kind of mirrored back here, but not entirely. I do have this porch in the back, which I made a little bit smaller to fit the space. And then I'm going to be fencing in a backyard. It's kind of like a back/side yard, and this lot actually does end up having a pool. I really just wanted to utilize everything the base game had to offer, and of course those are in base game now. The game didn't launch with pools in base game, which was pretty upsetting. There was a lot of things that the base game did not have on launch, but it's a lot better nowadays, and it is also free. So if you're watching this and you don't have The Sims and you want to, the base game is entirely free, and as is this build, you can download it and you don't need any packs or anything to use it. But if you do have the game and you'd like to purchase any packs, I do have a creator code with EA. It makes a huge difference, and it's a great way to support me as a creator if you would like to do so, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just if you were already going to purchase a pack for The Sims on the EA app, if you type in my code Gryphi at checkout, it'll give me a small percentage of that purchase. So if you ever were wanting to do that, it's not required, but I wanted to mention it in case you were so inclined. And because I mentioned that, I just have to thank EA for sponsoring this portion of the video, since they gave me that creator code and I could potentially benefit from it. So thank you to anyone who has ever used my code. It really means a lot. But anyway, back to the build now. I am working on the landscaping. We're adding some dirt here to extend these flower beds. They're mostly greenery. I don't tend to use a lot of colorful flowers in my landscaping. It's just personal preference, but I did add some lavender in here, which I thought was a nice pop of color. And you might have noticed, I think I talked over it, but I did add a flower basket or a hanging basket on the front porch, which I thought was really cute. That is from Debug, as is this fence that I'm placing down now, or I should say live edit objects. If you didn't know, there's a bunch of items in the game that you can actually access to decorate your builds with that are locked behind some cheats. You might recognize them as things you see in the background of the world, so off-lot, but they're not in the regular catalog. And how you go ahead and grab those and utilize them for yourself is if you open the cheats menu by pressing Ctrl-Shift-C, and then you type in bb.show hidden objects and click enter, and then also type in bb.show live edit objects, enter, no spaces in all of that. You'll be able to access these by going in the search menu and typing in debug and clicking any of those, and you can see everything. It's really helpful. I have mods in my game to make it a little bit easier to find those items, but that is the way to find them without any mods. And it's super helpful. Most of the plants I use are from that menu, and some of the decorations as well. The only thing is some of them have a footprint and some don't. And what I mean by that is your Sims may or may not be able to know that those items are there. So they might walk through something that, like the fence right there, they might walk right through it like there's nothing there. And then there's other items that you think might not be an issue. It's just like a decoration and they can't get around it. So it really depends on the item, but most of them do not have a footprint. There's a couple that do. So I would highly recommend you checking that out if you have not already. I'm pretty sure I have a tutorial on that, and I'm hoping to have some more tutorials on the channel soon, as well as probably some more base game and limited pack builds. So if there's anything specific you'd like to see me build with base game or any limited packs you'd like to see, definitely let me know. I'm feeling really inspired right now, so I would love to hear your suggestions and implement some of those into the channel. But we are just working on the floor plan of the bottom floor right now, and this changes up a little bit. It did take me a while to figure it out. The kitchen was a nightmare because for a while I just really hated the shape of it and it felt too wide, and it just took a while. But upstairs I am starting to lay out where the bedrooms are going to be and the bathrooms, and this is going to be the primary suite in the back. And then over on this side, I really didn't know what to do because I wanted to fit a couple more rooms over here, but we also had an entrance to a balcony and I didn't want that to be in a bedroom. because I was thinking that would be one of the kids' bedrooms, so it didn't really make sense. So I started by having this really long, awkward hallway and like 2 bathrooms on the end, and I didn't like that. So I do actually end up like fixing that area in the end, and that room actually ends up being an art studio with access to the balcony, which I thought was perfect because then I put another easel out on the balcony, and I feel like that would just be such a dreamy space for your Sims to go and paint. There's also an easel inside. There's a chess table. There's all kinds of stuff. Right now I'm just putting down a desk because I was thinking that was going to be an office, but I actually ended up moving the office downstairs, which works a lot better. That's going to be where I'm drawing out right now. I'm going to extend that a little bit onto the porch to make it slightly bigger. Here that is. And then this house actually has a formal dining room over in that sunroom area, but it also has a dine-in kitchen. So I think that's the main place your Sims are probably going to eat is in the kitchen. But I thought it was fun to have this space over here since I have all of those beautiful windows. But you could probably change that to whatever you'd like. I could see that working as potentially a like greenhouse or something as well. That could be really cute, putting a lot of plants in there. But we're moving on to the kitchen now, and this is where the struggle begins because I did not like how wide this space was. I had this little bump out over here, and nothing felt like it was working. So it did take a while, and I did step away from this for a while. You'll probably see it come together pretty quickly, though, because I cut out the process of me walking away and coming back. But you can see part of the decision-making process here and closing that area in, which, it makes unused space, but I didn't think it was too bad, and it helped make this kitchen less of an awkward shape, which I really, really enjoyed. So I actually ended up adding another bump out over here to close in this area, and it made such a difference. I liked having the stove over on this side instead, and then we were able to fit an island in here as well. And of course, I'm using my favorite base game counters, which are these ones that have the like diamond-shaped tile on the top, which I feel like would be a nightmare to clean in real life. And in real life, I also probably wouldn't like these, but in the base game, I think they are the most realistic ones, and I love the wood colors on them because the other wood one we have that's not the industrial one and not the plain like plasticky looking counters, I really don't like the swatches on, so I don't use them as often. So, of course, I had to use my favorite ones in here. And then I am painting the walls using this beautiful tile in this yellow swatch, which I thought was really fun. I did for a while try and bring out some of the blue from that tile in kind of strange ways in the curtains and stuff, and it just really wasn't working. So I did end up changing that out in the end. And I actually ended up painting the walls in the rest of the room, like in the breakfast area, to be a blue instead. I thought that was a better way to bring in that color because it was just a very stark contrast. So just adding some plants and a couple of decorations, and this is going to be where I actually step away and come back another day after I put a couple of decorations down here, because I did stream this over on Twitch. I had mentioned, if you'd like to follow me, I've been trying to get back into streaming lately. I go on and off between when I'm super active and when I'm not, but I'm really trying to bring it back right now. So if you'd like to follow me, it's twitch.tv/Gryphi. I'm hoping to be live like 3 to 5 times a week, but we shall see. I disappeared for a while because I mentioned in a different video that there was a shortage of my ADHD medication, so I was having trouble getting much done during the day, so I just really didn't have time to stream. So that is solved now, which is fantastic. So I've been back at it, and this is the first major thing that I built, and it's just so much fun to build these things on stream and like chat with everyone while we come up with ideas, and I get suggestions, and we just chit chat about random things as well, which is always a bit of fun. Like, we'll speculate about the upcoming packs and all of that kind of stuff, and non-Sims related things as well. It's a good way to connect. You have a little bit more, you have real-time interaction instead of like just comments on the videos, which I love, and I try and reply to as many as possible, but it's really nice to talk to you in live time. Anyway, I'm just rambling at you now. Over here, I decided I wanted to add a fruit bowl on top of the microwave. In real life, this is probably not the best idea. I feel like that's a good way for the fruit to go bad, but I thought it looked cute. So I decided to add that. And since it's not a functional fruit bowl in The Sims, it's just a decoration, I thought it was fine. And then I am just adding a little journal up here and a like hutch that has some plates and stuff in it. And this is when I decide I want to actually put a tile in the kitchen. And I tried this linoleum at first, and I am going to change it. But I'm playing with the curtains first when I realized, oh, what if we use this blue swatch? And this is more of that very stark contrast that I didn't like. It just felt out of place. It was like the wrong shade of blue, but I was trying to make it work. So it's there for a little bit before I realized maybe we should just paint the walls instead. But I do really like that navy blue swatch. I'm a fan of that color, but this is the blue that I ended up painting the kitchen instead, which I think looks really nice. And we're going back to the white curtains, which I think looks so much better. And we actually get a bit of color with the tile in the kitchen, which ends up being this like orangey tone one, which I put in all of the bathrooms in the house as well. It feels kind of dated, but I really liked it, and I felt like it kind of mimicked the pattern in the like tile on the walls in the kitchen, the backsplash. And then over here is going to be our little kitchen table. It's just a 4-seater with some of these chairs, which are actually one that were added to the game a few years ago when The Sims worked with some CC creators to bring some of their creations to the game. And they're definitely some of the best base game chairs because of that. They are so beautiful. And then I'm just going to be getting some artwork on the wall over here. I keep this area pretty simple. I just wanted to have a nice table. One thing that I didn't add in this house is high chairs. This house does have space for 2 toddlers. I did include a toddler potty and there are bathtubs in this house, but I didn't add high chairs because I know a lot of people don't use them. And also when I was decorating the downstairs, I knew there was going to be kids, but I hadn't yet decided what age range. So that was another reason I didn't add a high chair, but I tend to not that often just because I know they're frustrating for gameplay, and it's also kind of weird, like where do you put it? I know you can attach them to the table, but you could also just put them against the wall. Easy thing to add, the end of that table is empty, so if you do play in this house and you have a toddler, you can go ahead and snap one to the end, no issues, but that was something that I did not include, so I thought I would mention it. Anyway, this is going to be the living room. I really wanted to try and use these base game sofas, these boxy ones, but I don't like them, so I didn't end up keeping them in the end. I ended up using my favorite base game couch, which I believe is locked behind a career, if I'm remembering correctly. I always have everything unlocked with cheats, so I can access everything, and it's one of my favorite couches. So we'll be placing that down here shortly in a beige swatch, and because I did that, I decided to paint the walls in here blue as well. There's a lot of blue in this house, and in general in The Sims, I feel like everything in this game has a blue swatch, and they're nice swatches, so I tend to use a lot of blue. I know a lot of other Simmers do as well. And then I use this beautiful coffee table, and I actually merged a different one into the middle of it to look like a tray, so I could put a couple of items on that just to have a little bit more like definition. And I don't know, it feels like things are anchored in place when you have a tray. I know I have a tray on my coffee table, and I think it's just a nice addition. So I added that, and then I'm trying to decorate the top of the fireplace, and some of these items stay, some do not. I don't keep the lantern. I don't think I keep that little hand either, but I do keep the books. I think they're quite nice, but I was just not sure what I wanted to put up here. I also got this little painting or photograph of a sports team. I was thinking maybe one of the kids or the teen could be into that. I thought that was a cute idea. So just doing that here and moving around a couple of items and then filling in this wall with a couple of bookshelves. And then everything was feeling too formal, so I decided to add some toys in here to really bring in that family vibe. And I think that helped dramatically. We have a Blurfy for your kids to play with. We have some decorative toys in a basket for the younger kids. And then I'm just getting a couple more things over on this little tray I put on the table. And then what else do I add in here? I think I add a toy box over in the corner and a couple of things that I hang on the wall to make it look like the kids are using that space. I also scaled down a couple of these base game chairs and shoved them into the couch to look like pillows. This is functional. I've done this before. I know a lot of people do this. And I just felt like the couch needed something, so I'm placing those. And then I do like lower them a little bit with tools so that the base part of the chair is not showing the seating part. But I think this just added a little bit of a nice touch to this room, so I was quite happy with it. I think it looks pretty cute. I really hope that The Sims adds some more pillows in the future. I know that's something a lot of us have been asking for, and it's nice that we did get our first ones with the Modern Luxe kit, but I want more. That's such a like simple common thing is throw pillows, and it's just nice to have the option. Speaking of which, I did mention in a recent video how I was looking for a new couch because my old one broke and I had like this protection program on it and they weren't getting back to me and this whole thing, and I got all sorts of feedback on like where to get a couch and also that I should really bug them and all of that. And I have been bugging them, and they finally got back to me and they settled with a cash settlement, which is nice. And I actually purchased a new couch, which is arriving this weekend, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm thinking I might go shopping for some throw pillows because I have some, but it's a different couch, and I think it would just be nice to revitalize that space. And so I might be doing that. And of course, I just thought of that because we were putting throw pillows on the couches. But anyway, this room here is a like sort of mud room. I was thinking you enter here from the garage. And well, we don't have it in the base game. I was kind of imagining this as the space you might have a laundry room in. or like have laundry machines in. I also put a tea maker in here. I was thinking it was kind of like a butler's pantry where you can have additional appliances and storage. And then I also ended up adding like a place to hang up your coat. And there's going to be a laundry basket I put in here as well, because I was thinking, there could be laundry machines in here if you did decide to add those. If you have the laundry day stuff pack, I think that would be a good spot to have them. I think it's interesting how laundry machines are in different places in everyone's houses, depending on where in the world you are. Like some people have a mudroom or a laundry room like this. Other people put it in their garage or in the basement. You might have a laundry room. It might be in the kitchen. I've always had the experience of it being in the basement if you had a basement. I only lived in a house as a child, and then I lived with my grandmother when I was in college, and both of those times they were in like an unfinished basement, the washer and dryer. And now I live in an apartment. I don't have my own washer and dryer, but the building has it, and those are also in the basement. So that's been my experience. I've never had a laundry room. I've never had it in the kitchen, although I have stayed in a hotel that had like a kitchenette that had a washer and dryer in the kitchen, like years and years ago. I remember that. So I don't think it's weird. It's not my experience, but I do sometimes include them in the kitchen in my Sims builds because I think it's a nice place to put them. Anyway, this is the beginnings of our little dining space. This room ends up being pretty simple because it's on the smaller side. At least it's not that small, but because I wanted to have an 8-seater table in here, it felt a little bit small. So I just got some curtains. We're using the same chairs that I used in the kitchen space. I'm actually going to be changing the swatches, and I think I changed them to the same one to bring in that blue in here, which I thought was quite nice. And then I just get some things on the walls to really finish up the space, and yeah, a plant on the table as well. I keep hiccuping. Oh, goodness. Today has been like hiccups and sneezing. My allergies have been absolutely horrible this season, and it's just been a little bit of a struggle. I actually tweeted about it earlier today that I was having trouble recording this voiceover because I couldn't stop sneezing. So there might be a little bit of like cutting earlier in it where all of a sudden I start talking again because I cut out like lots of sneezes. So apologies if that's distracting in any way whatsoever. But anyway, this is the entryway now. It's a pretty big entryway, but I do have this little table with a mirror and a couple of decorations on it. There ends up being a bench in here as well, so you could sit down and put your shoes on or just like throw things when you first come in the house, like a book bag, a purse, any of that kind of stuff. And I ended up putting some cabinetry on this wall as well. I was thinking it could be like a built-in closet space. It's a little bit tight to the side of the door, but I thought it was okay. And then this is where I'm going to be putting that bench. I really like this one as well. I think it's really pretty. I wish it had more swatches, but I think it's a quite nice piece. And what else did I put on the wall here? Oh, just the sunflowers. And then I changed the rug in the main entryway to fill up the space a little bit better. And that should be it for this room. And then I think the next thing we work on is the office space. I just was very indecisive about the rug. I kept looking at it and being like, no, this one doesn't work. I don't know about it. Does it fit the rest of the house? I'm not sure. And then I opted for this one in the end, which I thought worked quite nicely. So this is the office. I changed the swatch of it to a different beige that has like a slight pink undertone, and just figuring out a spot for the desk. We have a nice computer in here, and I was not sure what to put up above it because I always just put a corkboard. So I decided this time I wasn't going to put that. I think I still put a corkboard in this room though, but I did put a couple of framed magazine fronts as well as a little bookcase up there. We have some flowers, and I am just trying to fill in the space. It's interesting when you're limited to base game when you're used to having the other packs, because there's items that are like my go-tos that I can't use, but also a lot of my go-to items are base game, like this pack, this stack of books, or the corkboard, which is in here and in the kitchen. I also decided on the other half of this room to sort of make it like a playroom for the kids. So there's a dollhouse, a giant stuffed animal, some blocks and stuff for like toddlers to play with, and a rug in this space. And I believe I put a couple of things on the walls over there as well. Yeah, these like little chalk drawings. I thought that these were really cute. And that's pretty much it for this room. I just get some postcards over here. And this way, it's like a functional space for your Sims to use the computer and work on whatever they need to, but also the kids can play in this area as well. There's some stuff in the living room. There's some stuff in their rooms, but I think having a household with a bunch of kids, it makes sense to have all of that. Granted, in the main house, all there is the two toddlers, as I have the teenager in the other room, but you could definitely like rework these rooms and have them for whatever family you have in mind. As I mentioned, there are a lot of rooms in here like that office could be another bedroom. Upstairs, when we get to the art studio, that could be another bedroom. But this is going to be the primary where I was imagining the parents are. And it's nice. I'm very sick of the base game beds. I really wish we could get more or just a swatch update on them. That would be so amazing. If we just had new colors of all of the base game beds, I feel like it would feel like an entirely new game. Like decorating these spaces would feel so fresh and new, and that would be nice. Of course, a brand new bed completely would also be nice, but I think a swatch update on the beds and the couches would be fantastic. But yeah, I just have a couple of bedside tables here and a plant, a nice dresser over here, and I put a dresser over on this side as well. And I sort of make a built-in closet in here. It's pretty simple, but I had this awkward corner I didn't know what to do with. So I closed it, and then I used some of the wall shelves that came with base game that have the boxes and the clothes on them, and I just kind of wrapped them around the wall in here. And I'm going to be changing the wallpaper to sort of a wood paneling to make it feel more like a closet. Not that closets usually have wood paneling. I guess they do sometimes. But I just felt like it needed to have a different wallpaper. So I did that. I also added some shoes in the bottom of the closet. And I don't know, it's kind of a wasted space, but you could probably turn it into something else or use the functional closet items that came with Dream Home Decorator if you have that pack. Of course, I was not using that here, but that is a really cool one. I do really enjoy Dream Home Decorator. It's one of my favorite game packs. And then I just got a couple of decorations here on this dresser. I wanted to have like this box of stuff. I feel like that's pretty realistic, at least for me. I would call that sort of like a doom box or a doom drawer, which I've talked about in videos before. And it's just always interesting to see the feedback on that or the experiences with that. It's something very common with people who have ADHD like myself, where you have just like a pile of stuff or a box of stuff, a bag of stuff, a drawer of miscellaneous items that you never go through. They don't go together, and you're like, I'll get to that at some point, and it's just always hidden away someplace. I have a couple of bags like that. I definitely have boxes and drawers, and they're just stuff that you don't know what to do with. And I thought that those boxes on that dresser could be that. But anyway, this is the grandparents' bedroom. It's a little bit older in style, but I still feel like it works quite well with the rest of the house. I have a nice armchair over in the corner, pretty much the same bedside tables and dresser and stuff in here. And then I got a couple of paintings and a grandfather clock because I was looking for a wall clock, and then I saw that and I needed to add that instead because it's so pretty. And so just doing that here, and then a little plant in the corner. And that's pretty much it for this room. I just added a mirror. And then this is going to be the toddler's bedroom. It is so cute. I really wanted to use these new beds that came with the update around when Growing Together came out, when Infants came out. And I wanted them to match so that they had the same like headboard color. And so I was thinking about doing one in blue and one in pink, but then I realized I wanted to use this rug, and I thought just a pink room would be so cute. So this house has probably twin girls. It could be anyone, but I really liked how this room came out. I think it is so incredibly cute. So I did kind of imagine that there was twin toddler girls here, and then there's a teenage boy who lives in the garage space, and then there's the parents and the grandparents in the house. I thought that that was kind of a fun dynamic. It's not one I do that often. I sometimes have grandparents living there, but when I do, it's usually like kids closer in age or like a lot of kids where we have them in all age ranges. But in this one, it's just a teen and two toddlers. You can tell whatever story you'd like here. It could be like maybe a more like blended family where you have Sims from a previous marriage that's moved in together with their teenager, and then they had a couple of kids of their own. I think that's a cute idea. That's probably the most realistic, I think, for this household. But you could have just like had a teenager and then much later ended up having some twin toddlers much later in life as well. I like that idea. There's a lot of stories you could tell with this sort of layout and like dynamic I had in mind for this house, but you could always change it as well. Anyway, this is going to be that art studio I had mentioned. So I have a easel in here as well as a bunch of canvases, both on a drying rack and some leaning against the wall. There ends up being like a little table with your palette and everything on it. And I don't have like a proper rug for an art studio, so I decided to use these mats, which are usually used for gyms. I thought that that would work nice in here, and that ends up being in the garage as well. So I just did that, and then we're moving outside real quick onto the balcony because I wasn't sure how I wanted to finish the rest of the room, but I did know that I wanted to have a chess table out there as well as an easel, so just quickly did that. And then I got a couple of drawers over here as well as the bonsai tree, and I believe a guitar as well. This is really just like a skill building room. It's mostly an art studio, but there's some other skill building items as well. And now we are into the garage. So I'm just adding a couple more of these doors in here. So it looks like there actually are functional doors. These are just decor pieces from Show Live Edit Objects. They are not going to work whatsoever. They're just decorations. But I thought that that helped sell the idea of a garage since we don't have them in the game, which makes sense because we don't have cars. But I also really want proper garages, even if we don't get cars. But then I would also be sad. I don't know. I have very mixed opinions on the car thing because I would love cars in the game. But more than anything, I just want garage things, like a functional garage door and all of the things to like build out a garage and all of the like clutter. And of course we have some, and I use that in a lot of my builds, but that would just be so nice. But of course I want cars, and I don't know if we'll ever get them at this point. It's been almost 10 years that The Sims 4 has been out, so. But I did add a woodworking table in here as well as some workout equipment and a card table so your Sims can play some games in here. I also added a bookcase and I think some outdoor trash cans. But upstairs in the garage is going to be our teenager's room. I really wanted this sim to be into music. It was really inspired by the guitar I put in the house in the art studio space. So I thought it would be fun to do that. And then I got to use these blue curtains that I was considering using before. So this room is like black and blue. So that is the color scheme we're going with. And I think it ends up being really cute. So just getting a little lamp. It's not that little. I got a lamp there, as well as I wanted to make sure we had a stereo in here, as well as some CDs, of course, a guitar, some posters and stuff that showed that the sim was into music, maybe wants to start a band. I put some messy clothes on the floor because I think that's pretty realistic for teenagers. And then a couple of the other posters and stuff I have in here are just general things because I don't feel like teenagers and kids have just one interest usually. So into music, but maybe like some video games. There's a couple of movies or shows they're into. I added a TV in here, a desk, just like a nice place for them to work on their studies and hang out and relax. And then we are outside to finish up the exterior of this build where I'm going to add a pool and some monkey bars and just like lots of plants and stuff. Pretty simple landscaping out here, but I think it ends up coming out really nice in the end. I really like this backyard. The shape of this house, the exterior of the home is definitely my favorite. I love the interior as well, but I'm just incredibly proud of how the outside of this house came out. Whenever I build a base game house and I feel like it doesn't look base game, it just feels like this accomplishment. But even ignoring the fact that this is base game, I just think this is one of my favorite shapes of houses that I've ever built in the game. So I really hope you've enjoyed this one. We're going to be heading on into screenshots here shortly once I finish up the backyard. So please let me know what you think. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. Thank you so very much for watching. Please let me know what you're thinking of this one and what else you would like to see on the channel, and enjoy those screenshots. I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.